Ladies, listen up before you invest your time, your heart, and your energy into a man. You need to ask the right questions. Because the last thing you want is to wake up months or years later realizing you ignored the red flags that were right in front of you. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, I don't want to interrogate a man, but let me tell you, the right man, the one who's truly serious about you, will have no problem answering these questions. The wrong man, he'll try to avoid them. And that in itself is your answer. Before entering a relationship, one of the most important things you need to do is clarify his intentions. Too many women assume that just because a man shows interest, he must be on the same page about commitment. But the truth is, people date for different reasons. Some men are looking for something serious, while others are just enjoying the moment with no real direction. This is why you need to ask him directly, what are you looking for in a relationship? When you ask this question, don't settle for vague answers. Like, I just want to see where things go, or I'm open to whatever happens. Those are not real answers. They're avoidance tactics. A man who is serious about you will have a clear response. He will be able to tell you whether he's looking for a committed relationship, whether he wants to build toward marriage, or whether he's simply looking for something casual. If he hesitates or gives a non-committal answer, that's a sign he hasn't truly thought about what he wants, or worse, he doesn't want to be upfront because he knows you might not like the answer. It's also important to pay attention to how he responds, not just what he says. Some men will tell you what you want to hear just to keep you around, so their words must align with their actions. If a man says he's looking for a serious relationship, but his behavior is inconsistent, disappears for days, avoids deep conversations, or treats you like an option instead of a priority, that's a red flag. Many women make the mistake of thinking that if a man is spending time with them, texting them regularly, and showing affection, he must be interested in something serious. But affection doesn't equal intention. A man can enjoy your company, love your energy, and even be attracted to you, yet still have no real plans for a future with you. This is why getting verbal confirmation early on is essential. Another thing to consider is that some men are still figuring themselves out. If a man tells you that he's not ready for a serious relationship or that he's unsure about what he wants, believe him. Don't try to convince him otherwise or hope that he'll change his mind over time. You can't build something stable with someone who doesn't even know what direction he's headed in. Your time is too valuable to be spent waiting for a man to figure out his intentions. Understanding a man's commitment level is essential before you invest emotionally in a relationship. Too often, women assume that just because a man enjoys their company, spends time with them, and shows affection, he must be thinking long term. But the reality is, commitment means different things to different people. Some men date just for companionship, some for convenience, and others with the clear intention of building a future. This is why you must ask the right questions and pay attention to his mindset regarding commitment in marriage. When discussing this topic, ask direct questions like, what are your thoughts on commitment? Or do you see yourself getting married in the future? His answers will reveal a lot about his long-term vision. If he hesitates, avoids the question, or responds with something vague like, I don't really think about that stuff, it's a sign that commitment may not be a priority for him. On the other hand, if he confidently expresses that he values commitment and sees marriage as a part of his future, that gives you a clearer idea of where he stands. It's also important to pay attention to his past relationships. If he has a history of avoiding serious commitments, jumping from one casual relationship to another, or expressing negative views about marriage, that's something to take seriously. Some men will say they are open to commitment, but their actions tell a different story. If he has never been in a serious relationship or avoids defining relationships altogether, there's a chance he either isn't ready for commitment or doesn't believe in it the way you do. Another key factor is how he views relationships in general. Some men see relationships as a partnership built on trust, love, and stability, while others see them as restrictive or unnecessary. If he expresses doubts about marriage, saying things like, marriage is just a piece of paper, or most marriages don't last anyway, that indicates he may not value long-term commitment the same way you do. You should never assume that just because he likes you, he will eventually change his perspective. Commitment is about emotional readiness, maturity, and personal beliefs. If a man is serious about building something long-term, he won't shy away from these conversations. He will be clear about his intentions, and he will make his stance on commitment known without hesitation. But if he is hesitant, dismissive, or avoids the topic, that's a warning sign you shouldn't ignore. How a man handles conflict in a relationship is one of the most telling signs of his emotional maturity and ability to sustain a healthy partnership. Every relationship will have disagreements, but it's how those disagreements are handled that determines whether the relationship will grow stronger or fall apart. Many people focus on the good times when evaluating a partner, but what truly matters is how he reacts when things don't go his way, when stress is high, or when you both have different perspectives on an issue. Pay attention to his communication style when discussing difficult topics. Does he shut down and avoid the conversation? Does he become defensive or try to turn the blame onto you? Does he dismiss your feelings and make you feel like you're overreacting? These are all warning signs that he may not have the emotional tools to handle conflict in a productive way. Healthy communication means being able to listen, understand, and work toward a resolution instead of reacting with anger, silence, or manipulation. Another important factor is whether he respects your emotions during conflict. Some men are quick to minimize how their partner feels, saying things like, "You're being too sensitive," or "It's not that big of a deal." If he consistently disregards your feelings, that's a sign of emotional immaturity. A man who values a real relationship will acknowledge your emotions, even if he doesn't fully agree with your perspective. He will make an effort to understand why you feel the way you do instead of dismissing or invalidating your concerns. It's also crucial to observe how he reacts to feedback or criticism. Can he admit when he's wrong, or does he always find a way to justify his actions? A man who struggles to take accountability for his mistakes will create long-term frustration in a relationship. Conflict resolution requires humility and the willingness to work together to find solutions. If he never apologizes or always finds a way to shift the blame onto you, that's a clear indication of how future disagreements will play out. The way he manages stress is another important indicator of how he will handle conflict. Does he lash out at the people around him when he's frustrated? Does he turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms like drinking, shutting down, or completely ignoring problems instead of addressing them? The ability to handle stress in a mature way is directly tied to how he will handle issues in your relationship. A man who avoids conflict or explodes in anger over small disagreements will make it difficult to build a stable, long-term connection. A man's long-term goals and ambitions say a lot about his character, his sense of purpose, and his ability to build a stable future. Too often, people get into relationships without considering whether their partner has a clear direction in life. While love and attraction are important, they are not enough to sustain a relationship if one person lacks drive, motivation, or a vision for the future. A man who has no goals or ambition is a man who is stagnant, and stagnation in life will eventually create stagnation in the relationship. It's important to ask him about his long-term goals early on. What is he working toward? What are his career aspirations? Does he have personal or professional dreams that he is actively pursuing? If he struggles to answer these questions or gives vague responses like, "I'm just figuring things out," that may indicate a lack of direction. While there's nothing wrong with being in a transitional phase in life, the key is whether he has a plan and is actively working towards something. A man who is content with just coasting through life without any sense of purpose may not be able to provide the stability and leadership needed for a lasting relationship. Another important factor is his work ethic and consistency. Does he follow through on his goals, or does he constantly start things without finishing them? Does he make excuses for why he isn't where he wants to be, or does he take accountability and put in the effort to improve? Ambition isn't just about having big dreams, it's about having the discipline and determination to turn those dreams into reality. A man who is always talking about what he wants to do but never actually takes action is not truly ambitious. It's also crucial to consider whether his goals align with yours. If you are someone who values growth, success, and financial stability, but he is content with minimal effort and has no desire to elevate himself, that difference in mindset will eventually create tension. A man's ambition isn't just about his own success, it's about how he sees his future and whether he envisions building something meaningful with a partner. If he isn't thinking about growth, stability, or long-term plans, that's a sign that he may not be relationship ready. The way he speaks about his future is just as important as his actions. Does he include you in his long-term vision, or does he only talk about himself? Does he see relationships as a partnership where both people grow together, or is he only focused on his individual path? A man with ambition and direction will not only work toward his own success, but will also understand the importance of building a strong foundation for his personal life and future relationships. Understanding how a man shows love and expresses affection is crucial in determining whether you are truly compatible. Too often, people assume that just because someone loves them, they will naturally express that love in the way they need. But the reality is people give and receive love differently. And if you don't take the time to understand his love language, you may end up feeling unfulfilled in the relationship. Some men express love through words, while others do it through actions. Some are physically affectionate, while others show love by providing and protecting. The key is figuring out how he naturally expresses affection and whether that aligns with how you receive love. If you need verbal affirmations, but he rarely expresses his feelings through words, you may start to feel emotionally disconnected. If physical touch is important to you, but he isn't naturally affectionate, that could create tension over time. It's important to ask him directly, how do you typically show love in a relationship? And how do you feel most loved? His answer will help you understand whether your love languages align. Some people assume that just because a man does nice things for them, it means he understands their emotional needs. But love isn't just about what someone does, it's about whether those actions make you feel valued and secure. Another important factor is his consistency. How he treats you in the beginning should not drastically change as time goes on. Some men are very affectionate and expressive at the start of a relationship, but gradually become distant. Others may show love in subtle ways that don't fit the typical romantic gestures, but their consistency proves their devotion. The key is recognizing whether his way of loving makes you feel appreciated or leaves you feeling empty. It's also necessary to look at how he responds to your needs. If you communicate what makes you feel loved, does he make an effort to meet you halfway? A man who truly cares about you will want to make sure you feel secure and happy in the relationship. But if he dismisses your needs or tells you that you're asking for too much, that's a sign that he may not be capable of giving you the love you deserve. The way he expresses love is not just about how he treats you, also reflects his emotional maturity and his ability to maintain a healthy relationship. If he struggles to show affection, avoids emotional conversations, or doesn't acknowledge the importance of making his partner feel valued, that will eventually create emotional distance. Understanding his love language early on helps prevent future misunderstandings and ensures that you both feel fulfilled in the relationship. Ladies, the biggest mistake you can make is ignoring the answers to these questions. If his responses raise red flags, don't brush them aside thinking things will magically change. They won't. A man who is serious about you will be clear about his intentions, open about his emotions, and aligned with your values. And if he's not, then he's not the man for you. You are valuable. You are worthy of love. And you deserve a relationship that brings you peace, joy, and security. So before you date him, ask these 5 questions. Your future self will thank you.